Good morning and welcome to our kitchen. I'm Gordy Galusha.
I'm Nancy Ostrich.
This is our 201 program, and we're very proud to say that we've made it to 200. I'm Gordy Galusha.
And I'm Nancy Ostrich.
Okay. Today we are making
Salisbury steak, escalloped corn,
and scalloped corn, and white chocolate raspberry cheesecake. And we're going to start out with Nancy.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to start with the escalloped corn as my side dish so that it can go into the oven because it needs about 40 minutes to cook. So in this bowl here, I have already beaten 2 eggs. This is a very easy put together recipe. And I'm going to add to that 1 cup of sour cream. Also, 1 can of cream style corn. And 1 can of kernel corn, drained.
Pretty corny dish, huh?
Yeah, it's a pretty corny dish. One box of our famous Jiffy corn muffin mix. Four tablespoons of melted butter or margarine, and salt and pepper to taste. If you've got another spice or something you want to add to it to kick it up a notch, it's your choice. I don't want to put the flour in. I want to put the salt in. Mix it up good. I'm sure this has turned up at a church potluck supper and probably in a church cookbook or some group cookbook. We will go into a greased, about an 8-inch square pan, or one in about the same size. Okay, this will go into a 350 degree oven. Cook for about 40 minutes. Thank you. Now I'll turn it over to Gordy and she can do her dessert.
Okay, today I'm going to make a white chocolate raspberry cheesecake. It's very easy to make. What I did first was I got a pint of raspberries, and I took 8 or 12 raspberries out and set them aside so I can put them on top of my cheesecake. And for my pie crust, I had one 10-ounce package of shortbread cookies, such as Lorna Doone, 4 tablespoons of butter, and I mixed it all together, and I put a little white chocolate chips in there, and I mixed it all up in my food processor. Then I took it out and I put it in my pie plate, and while you're going to be making your filling for it, you can put it in the refrigerator and cool it. And then I can make my filling. My filling consists of white chocolate chips, cream cheese, vanilla, and powdered sugar. And I will start mixing. Whoops, here. I have 3 cream cheeses in here and a teaspoon of vanilla, and I'm going to mix it up. The instructions are to use your big mixer, but I really didn't feel like carrying it over here. That thing is heavy. So I'm going to try it with my mixer. Beat your cream cheese and vanilla so it's well blended. A couple of minutes, it should be. Whoops. Oh, gee whiz. I'm such a sloppy thing. It's going to be worse because I've got powdered sugar.
Oh, gee, that won't blend very well.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, that looks like it's well blended. So now I'm going to put in my white chocolate. I melted the rest of the package of white chocolate. And what I did to the raspberries, I took 8 or 10 raspberries out of the package, put them in a pan with half a juice of a lemon, and 4 tablespoons of butter. Okay. Now I'm going to mix this all up. Make sure you scrape the sides of your bowl down so you get everything all straightened out. Get it all mixed up. So everybody stand back because I'm going to use powdered sugar. I've got a half a cup of powdered sugar. Okay, we're going to start out slow so we don't have it all over the kitchen here. Well, worked out all right. So far, so good. This is a non-baked cheesecake. Okay, now I'm going to pour in my raspberry puree. I took the rest of my raspberries and a lemon, juice of a lemon, and some sugar, and I put it in a pan and boiled it for 2 minutes. Then I took it out and strained the seeds out. So you have a puree, the raspberry puree. I'm going to scrape down the sides again. Okay, and this is what the raspberry puree looks like. And I'm now going to put it into my pie shell.
That looks almost good enough to eat, Lori.
It does, doesn't it? Huh?
Yep.
Just like it is.
Yep.
You want a spoon?
No, thank you.
Looks like raspberry ice cream, doesn't it?
Yep. My father used to like to make cheesecakes, and I've forgotten, they may have been no baked either, but he had his recipe. And he used to make them for, like, when he went to the bank, he has this special
Yeah.
teller, that he always
he
had.
always brought something to the teller.
And he would bring every once in a while a cheesecake.
My father-in-law used to like raspberry pie,
Uh-huh.
and he didn't like it sweet, sweet. But so I didn't make it sweet. I made it too tart, and he sat at the table, the tears running down his eyes. That really made me feel good. Oh dear.
Did you change the recipe after that?
Yes, I did. I put a little bit more
Sugar in it.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Okay, and these are the raspberries that I saved out. They're nice, big, juicy raspberries. Okay. Okay, and here is our white chocolate raspberry cheesecake. And now you put it in the refrigerator and cool it down until it gets a little hard. And then we're going to have it for dessert.
Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe.
So I'm going to put it back in the refrigerator to cool down real good.
It'll be at our table anyways, no matter whether it's ready or not.
Yeah. Okay, that's it for the raspberry cheesecake. Back to Nancy.
Okay. I found my main dish, Salisbury steak recipe, in our local newspaper, and sometimes, occasionally, I'll use one of those recipes, even though my favorite is Taste of Home. Salisbury steak, which my husband thought was going to be like Swiss steak, which we use a cube steak or a round steak for the Swiss steak. Salisbury steak is used with ground beef, and I think this probably was an older recipe, which I kind of like to find out nowadays. Now, recipes my mother or grandmother used to make, and you can go online and you can find just, Google older recipes and see if you want to change them or stay the same or make them a little less fat content or, whatever. This is going to serve 4 to 6, I said, because it's 1.5 pounds of ground beef, and they made 4 patties, which are like 1/2 pound each. I mean, too big for, unless you've got hungry men in your, according to me anyway. So I'm going to say 4 to 6 as a serving. As I said, 1.5 pounds of ground beef, your choice. I tend to stick a lot with the 85-15 because it, unless you're really watching your fat content, there's a better taste with a little more with fat in it, and doesn't not so dry. Can over 90% meat can be dry if you're making hamburgers or whatever. So we do this in two sections, and the first one is making our hamburg patties. 1.5 pounds of ground beef, and to that I'm going to add 1 egg, one tablespoon of tomato paste, and I've gotten so I like to get the tube. It lasts so much longer. You don't have that half-used tomato paste little can. In your refrigerator, and then like me, it's liable to go bad. I think I'll use one tablespoon of Dijon mustard. Sometimes I forget to shake mustard up good, and it tends to separate, and I get watery in the beginning. Then you got to get it down into the, there we go. One tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. One clove of garlic minced. And 1/2 cup of fresh breadcrumbs. Salt and pepper to taste. I don't know, I'm debating whether just dig right in there and use my hands.
They're the best tools there is.
But let's see if we can get it going with a fork. Meanwhile, you have started to heat a large skillet. Clean hands, of course. With my
To
slippery
make them
hands.
tight so you can't get them off.
Just to get it going here. Okay. Now, I could not make just 4 of these with all this. And I have finished cooking my patties, And actually, I got 2, 4, 7 that I think are big enough for, at least one portion of most people. So now we can continue with the sauce. And in my fry pan, which I have drained and took out a lot of the other stuff from the meat cooking, I left a little in there for flavor. I am melting 2 tablespoons of butter or margarine. And I'm going to add 2 cups of sliced mushrooms. And then we're going to add some dry sherry or dry wine, white wine. I use, from a lot of recipes that call for different liquor like that, is I keep vermouth on hand. Red, which is the sweeter one, and white, which is the drier one. And it works for me, but you can, use your preference. Okay, we're going to remove the mushrooms, put them in a small bowl, and start on something else. And we're going to saute 1 medium onion, which we've diced. I always hate to cut onions up ahead of time because they
make you cry?
No, they just have such a pungent odor to them if you do them ahead of time.
Oh, I know it. You take the cover off, boom.
Yeah. So now these have to saute for a while. So this is quite a few steps to making this. I'm sure it's worth it. Interesting little comment on the end of the article and the end of the recipe that traditionally, and I didn't go tradition, Salisbury steak is served with mashed potatoes and peas. Again, we have to wait a minute or two to saute these onions. But with excellent editing of these times, you won't have to sit through and watch the onions cook down or the mushrooms. Cook that flour down for a minute or so. Add half a teaspoon of dried thyme. And 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. And we're going to put back in, starting to boil, going to put the mushrooms back in. got the broth here. I just want to see how thick this is going to get. Now when this comes up to the simmering and the thickness of the sauce that you want, we're going to put the patties back in because they need to get the flavor of the gravy here and finish cooking off. And that is your Salisbury steak. It does take a little time, but I think it'll be worth the time. And when we return, we will be at our table with all our finished products. Welcome back to our table. We finally got our 3 recipes finished. My Salisbury steak went in increments, but it won't be a longer show. The first thing I did make, though, to complement the Salisbury steak was escalloped corn instead of peas, which is kind of a tradition, peas and mashed potatoes. And it was a very easy recipe to put together with cream corn, canned corn, sour cream, eggs, margarine, and a box of the Jiffy corn muffin mix. It's all just mixed together and baked in the oven. It comes out kind of puffy with the egg in it. And then my Salisbury steak, first of all, I mixed together the ground beef with breadcrumbs and tomato paste and Dijon mustard and Worcestershire sauce and an egg to make patties. Those had to be cooked first. And after they were 3/4 done, you remove them from the fry pan, kind of drain the fat off and some of the mixture that cooks out of the patties. And then I added some margarine to cook up some mushrooms and some dry sherry. You put them in a bowl when they were cooked off, and put more margarine in, and you sauteed up some diced onions, then added flour, cooked that off, then added beef stock and some more tomato paste and soy sauce, and it boiled up to make the gravy. You put the patties back in again, let it simmer for a little while, and there's your finished product. So it did take a little while, but hopefully we're thinking it's going to be worth taste-wise. So on to our dessert.
Okay, today I made a white chocolate raspberry cheesecake, and I made the crust out of Lorna Doone shortbread cookies with sugar and butter, and I pulsed them in my food processor, and I put them in a pie plate. And for the stuffing, for the filling, I have raspberries and butter and chocolate chips and cream cheese and vanilla and powdered sugar, and I mixed it all together, and I kept out a tablespoon of white chocolate chips, and I chopped them up and put them on top of my filling with some raspberries, and this is a white chocolate raspberry cheesecake. If you like any of these recipes, please send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Dalton Community Cable, 151 Park Avenue, Dalton, Mass. 01226. And that is all for today. And also, I would like to thank the Board of Directors for our wonderful 200th party. It was wonderful, and it was a very big surprise, and thanks again.